All right, you guys, so it is Thursday morning. This is a totally unexpected trip. Put this together last night. We're going to Leavenworth, Washington, a few hours outside of Seattle, and we are delivering a 1952 Gibson Les Paul with the matching amp. One of the first Les Pauls ever made, probably the first 50. Crazy piece of history, and it's going to a really good home, which we'll get into later. But yeah, we're on the road. Let's do this. All right, so we just landed in Leavenworth. Final destination is about 10 minutes outside, but we're here a little early, so we're gonna grab some grub, get ready for the rest of the day. All right, so 10 plus years ago, I met this guy named Rob Newsom, who stormed through the store, tons of charisma, really exciting guy, and bought an amazing 40s mark from me, like a 41 or 42 D18. And I've known him for over a decade now and helped him find some amazing pieces of gear, like top tier equipment. And the guy just has the best taste. Everything that surrounds him is awesome. He's, you know, avid rock climber, fisherman. He sits on the board of Wintergrass, the big acoustic guitar festival. He owns Boudreaux Winery, which is my favorite wine, period. So after we got some food, we're delivering him this 1952 Gibson Les Paul. I'm just excited to hang with the guy, and this is just kind of another part of our whole adventure together, knowing each other, and it's gonna be fun.
I'm Rob Newsom, and I am the owner and winemaker at Boudreaux Cellars, and we are deep in Icicle Canyon, and we're also 4 miles off the power grid right now. Boudreaux is a fictitious folklore character down in Louisiana, and Boudreaux is famous for drinking and dancing and driving fast and hunting at night with spotlights and fishing with dynamite. He knows how to get by. So when I met Gary Figgins at Leonetti, Gary started calling me Boudreaux, and I've been Boudreaux ever since. T-Bone!
What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
How you doing, Rob?
I'm
Good to see
doing
you,
good,
Good
man.
to be back. I got a couple gifts for
What?
you.
Oh, you just giving me these?
Dude, for free.
I've always hoped that somebody would finally bring me something.
All right, should I just go out here to I'm gonna go to the kitchen with you.
Yeah, go to the kitchen.
This is one of the first Les Pauls ever manufactured. It's literally first run, probably the first 50 or 100. I mean, what better place to be, man? Crack it open.
It's probably the first one. Wow, look at that. Whoa. Gosh.
All your original,
Oh, wow.
original bridges in
Wow.
there. So it's ready to go. It plays. Obviously, you got the diagonal screws, which
Yeah.
indicate it's one of the first, 50 made.
No way.
No serial number, no neck binding. That's the first batch, man. So,
No way. Not even the serial number.
yeah.
That is crazy. Golly. I mean, it's
Just
just,
checking on the back.
I
too.
know, and it doesn't have wear. It's crazy cool.
Yeah, somebody took good care of it. Cali Girl case, which is non-original, but a vintage
Yeah.
case. This probably came with like a Gator case, honestly, like a chip case that somebody tossed.
Right.
I've seen with the originals, but that's about as cool as you can get for a replacement case. But the matching amp, 1954 Les Paul amp. It not only looks
Wow.
cool and has the right name, but this thing freaking rips.
It's got LP on it.
Check it out.
I didn't know it had. No
Yeah.
way. Sign?
No, not signed. Yeah. There's not a lot of these around that haven't been all messed with over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And even just looking at this thing, just literally as a piece of art with this started it all. Look at that thing, and it's in freaking great shape. Have you ever owned a Les Paul?
I've never had a Les Paul. I've always wanted a Les Paul.
I think this is a good one for you to get into, man.
Yeah. It'll be great.
One of the first times I met Rob, decade ago or something, I was thinking he bought a
41 or 42. It was a 1938 D18, which is so amazing, which he still has, so we're gonna definitely bust that out later. So this is a fun one I've been waiting to see in person
that's
too.
a 1937 Regal.
Rob's had Mark Tossman doing an overhaul on it, and yeah, I imagined it was a lot smaller than this. This is the coolest Regal I think I've ever seen. Look at that pickguard too. It's almost like the, you know, Gibson Tiger Stripe, but a little bit different shade, a little thinner. 1937, built in Chicago.
Yeah.
Look at that thing. Very cool.
Yeah.
I refer to this as the Christmas tree telly because I imagine if you're a young kid coming out in 1952, Christmas morning, and you want an electric guitar, it's probably what you'd see. 100% stock, 1952 Telecaster, obscenely clean. You know, you've got the cover down there, everything. The red in this case just blows my mind. I think that adds to the Christmas vibe. And it comes with the original amp. Sold this to Rob, I don't know, like 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
A couple years ago.
I don't know, I don't even know anymore, but one of the cleanest, coolest, uncirculated Telecasters. Also 1952, so 1952, 1952, 1952.
Yeah.
Forgot about this. I played a show here with the Haulers like years ago, and you came out with that and like totally tore it up.
Yeah, you can just grab that off of there.
I'm going to.
It's a 1947 Fender lap steel. That pickup is like the best pickup I've ever had in a guitar. This is my dad's band in 1947, I think. Okay, so this guy, Mr. Young, is playing one of these things, and he's got that stand. So this is my dad here, and he was the singer and the front guy. And I asked my dad, I go, well, Dad, so he had an electric guitar. Why didn't you guys, you know, start playing electric guitars? And he said, son, none of us could afford an electric guitar. His family had money, and so he got an electric guitar. The rest of them, you know, saved their money.
Wow.
My dad never did have an electric guitar, but he had a 1955 D18 Martin. So
Hell yeah.
that's good enough.
Sounds awesome, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big piano.
All right, I'm in heaven.
I was born in 1952 on April Fool's Day, and I was supposed to be a girl. This was back before they knew, you know, who was going to be born. Popped out a boy and fooled everybody. But I grew up in a very small town of 900 people called Duboc, Louisiana. My dad was a guitar player and great singer until he died last year at 99. He was the front man for this band called the Louisiana Travelers. As a small child, I just remember sitting on the floor and 2 or 3 people would come over and they would play music. And it was old country and blues. And everybody just went home happy. It was a really wonderful memory. He finally saved up $50. We were like dirt poor. Then he bought a used 1955 D18 Martin. We still have that guitar right now. I think when I was 12 or 13, I started playing guitar. And still the D18 was a little bit too big for me. And my dad worked with a guy who had a Blackguard Telly. He loaned it to me for like a year. And then about the time I hit college, I went acoustic for a long time then. My job in college was guitar in a bluegrass band every Friday and Saturday night. We can never agree on what the name of the band should be. And finally, they started making posters that just said, "No Name Bluegrass Band, 7 p.m. Saturday night, Sundown West." And we played all around North Louisiana. You know, we didn't go very far, didn't get famous or anything. I graduated college with a degree in forestry. And so the night I finished college, I moved to Washington. I started climbing mountains seriously, and I became a guide, and I guided all in the North Cascades, on Mount McKinley, Denali, led 2 Himalayan expeditions, climbed El Cap. So at one point when I was young, I was a pretty badass mountain climber. I guided a guy to the summit of Denali who worked for Gore-Tex. And he called me up and said, hey, I got this great job, you should take it. And I go, man, I'm like a pretty famous mountain guide. I don't really want a corporate job, you know. The next week, I almost got killed in the rain on Mount Baker, and you know, a big ice block fell down. And when I got off that trip, I called a guy and I go, can I still interview? And he goes, sure. So I got a job with W.L. Gore and Associates. By chance, they had an idea, which was a Gore-Tex fly fishing wader. I was like the only guy who actually knew how to fly fish because I'd grown up. My dad goes fishing like 3 days a week. And for the next 10 years, I basically got to fly around the world, going fly fishing and working on this project. We took it to market with Sims Fishing out of Bozeman, Montana. And now when I go fishing, everyone I see is wearing a Sims Gore-Tex wader. And it's like, yeah, we did that. I had a bottle of 1985 Leonardo Reserve at Ray's Boathouse. Actually, I had 2 bottles, and I was with clients, you know, working for Gore-Tex. And the next day, I called the winery, and I said, hey, had this wine last night, loved it. I'd love to buy a case of it. And she goes, who are you? And like, there's a waiting list, and that wine sold out. And I just kept talking and kept talking. And I think she liked my accent. So she finally goes, well, just call me back tomorrow. I'm gonna go look under the house and see if there's like one more case. And they sold me this last case of 85 Reserve. So I drive all the way to Walla Walla to get this case of wine, and we've been best friends ever since. Back in the late 70s, I used to camp at this nice sandy spot by 8 Mile Creek where my house is sitting right now. And one day I came to camp here and there was barbed wire on the bridge and a for sale sign. And so I took the sign down and I put it in that 1958 Willys pickup over there and drove to town. Sure as hell, there's 25 acres of private land here for $75,000. And the guy was willing to carry the note. One night, Gary Figgins at Leonetti and I were a little bit inebriated in his backyard, and I said, dude, your wine's getting kind of expensive. And he said, well, you should just make your own then. And I said, how do you do it? And he said, oh, there's nothing to it. You just get some grapes and squash them in a trash can and try to leave them alone. And so he got me some grapes and we did it. I squashed it in a trash can up on my porch. I made 1 barrel, then I made 2 barrels, then I made 10 barrels. I've been here for 40 years, since 1981. I've never had electricity. I've always had a generator. Today, we turned on a giant solar array that makes 13 kW, and it powers my home and my winery and everything. And it powers this guitar. I honestly cried when we turned it on. Like, I waited 40 years kind of wishing I had electricity, but I didn't want to live in town. It's like, finally, I'm living my best life. We're certainly the first winery in Washington that's completely powered by solar as of about 2 hours ago. And today you showed up with this guitar. I mean, it's just like, I'm gonna cry, so don't, we might have to cut. It's cool, very cool. I've been to a lot of guitar stores. That's what I do when I get to the next city, is I find the guitar store and I go there. And like, y'all got the best shop there is. When I'm trying to buy a guitar, Like, I want the oldest guitar that I can get that's playable in that particular style. I mean, I've got a 1936 and a 1938 D18. You know, I wish I had a 1934 or 35, but it wouldn't sound any better. My 36 is like one of the best guitars on earth. When we got the 52 Telly Blackguard, I mean, you just can't, you're not gonna get a better Telly. But I've always wanted a Les Paul, because that sound, that, you know, that big, full thing, I've just always loved that. Something I gotta explore. I gotta figure it out.
The sun was quickly disappearing behind the mountains, so we made our way to the creek with Rob's 1936 and 38 Martin D18s, and just enough time for a couple of songs before heading in. We had to get some gear back to the shop, but Rob insisted that we stay for dinner, and with his Cajun cooking reputation, we knew that there was no way we could possibly refuse such an offer.
Making shrimp ain't too fast. Stay la vie.